Some gods are remembered because they burn. Some are remembered because they conquer. But Chandra is remembered for something softer and far more dangerous. He is the light that doesn't wound like the sun, the beauty that arrives when the world grows quiet. And yet, hidden inside the story of the moon god is a truth many people know too well. Even the most beautiful light can fade. Even the most desired heart can be cursed. And sometimes, what keeps a soul alive is not never falling, but learning how to return. In Hindu tradition, Chandra is the moon god, often also called Soma. He is associated with the moon, night, vegetation, and the rhythms of life, and he is counted among the Navagraha, the 9 planetary deities. His name in Sanskrit carries the sense of shining or glittering, and older Hindu tradition also preserves links between Soma and healing, plants, and vitality. That already makes him beautiful. But what makes Chandra unforgettable is not only that he shines, it is that he wanes. Unlike gods whose glory looks constant, Chandra carries a story written into the sky itself. He is one of those deities whose mythology is reflected in a visible cycle: fullness, decline, disappearance, and return. That is one reason lunar worship across cultures has been tied to the rhythms of life, time, and cosmic change. And maybe that is why his story feels so human, because many lives do not move in straight lines. They brighten, they break, they shrink, they heal, they come back changed. Chandra's story understands that pattern. In later Hindu mythology, one of the best-known stories about Chandra tells of his marriage to the 27 daughters of Daksha, who are associated with the 27 nakshatras, or lunar mansions. But Chandra favored one wife above the others, Rohini. His preference angered Daksha, who cursed him, and that curse became the mythic explanation for the moon's waning. That detail is devastating in the most beautiful way, because the moon god was not cursed for lacking beauty. He was cursed because beauty without balance can still become a wound. He loved, but not evenly. He chose, but not wisely. And what looked like romance from one side became neglect from another. That is such a quietly painful truth. Sometimes a person does not destroy their life through hatred. Sometimes they damage it through preference, through imbalance, through the inability to love fairly. And then the curse falls, not as total annihilation, but as diminishing. That is what makes Chandra's mythology so emotionally powerful. He does not simply disappear forever. He fades, little by little, light by light, until the fullness that once made him irresistible begins to leave him. And what a haunting image that is, to still be yourself, and yet feel your brightness thinning, to still exist, and yet not recognize the shape of your former radiance. For many people, that is not mythology. That is grief. That is burnout. That is heartbreak. That is the slow dimming that comes after being loved, admired, wanted, and then losing the inner balance that kept the soul whole. But Chandra's story does not end in fading. In many retellings, after the curse takes hold, Chandra seeks help and performs penance. Shiva becomes central to his restoration, and the curse is softened rather than erased. Chandra is allowed to wax again after waning. That is why the moon in the sky becomes not just a symbol of decline, but also of return. And that is the twist at the center of his story. The moon god is not saved by escaping his curse. He is saved by being transformed through it. He does not go back to a life where nothing can touch him. He becomes the living image of a deeper truth. That losing brightness is not always the end. That broken rhythm can become sacred rhythm. That what fades may still be allowed to return. That is why Chandra feels healing, because there are people everywhere who are terrified of their own diminishing, terrified of losing beauty, strength, certainty, youth, relevance, desire, hope. They think fading means failure. They think shrinking means the story is over. They think a season of darkness proves they are no longer who they once were. But Chandra says otherwise. He says, even the moon disappears in part, and still comes back. That message becomes even more layered when you remember that Chandra is also connected with tenderness, plants, moisture, and life-giving cycles rather than sheer force. Older traditions linked Soma with vegetation, healing, and vitality, and later Chandra inherits much of that softer symbolic field. He is not only a celestial object, he becomes part of the emotional and biological rhythm of the world. So Chandra is not just a god of night. He is a god of sensitivity, of tides no one sees, of moods no one fully understands, of inner climates that shift without permission. And that may be why his mythology carries another tension too. Moonlight is gentle, but gentleness is not the same as innocence. Some traditions also preserve the troubling story of Chandra and Tara, the wife of Brihaspati, with Buddha later born from that union. The details vary sharply across texts and retellings, and different versions emphasize desire, conflict, abduction, or scandal in different ways. But together they reinforce an important feature of Chandra's mythology. He is not a flat symbol of purity. He is beautiful, influential, desired, and morally complicated. That matters for the story, because Chandra is not moving simply because he is lovely. He is moving because he is flawed. He is the moon, not just as poetry, but as longing, as partiality, as emotion, as desire that can heal or destabilize. And suddenly, the moon god becomes much closer to human life. How many people have watched themselves become less steady because of what they wanted? How many have favored one thing too much, chased one feeling too hard, loved without wisdom, glowed for someone until they began to disappear from themselves? Chandra knows that ache. But still, every month, the sky offers his answer. He returns, not all at once, not dramatically, not in a single act of conquest. He returns by degrees, a little silver edge, a little more light, a little more shape, a little more self. And perhaps that is one of the most comforting images in all mythology, because healing is often like that too. Not immediate, not loud, not cinematic, just a small return, then another, until one night you look up and realize the light is full again. That is why Chandra matters. Not only because he rules the moon, not only because he shines above the world, but because he teaches something many hearts desperately need to hear. You are allowed to be cyclical. You are allowed to fade and still remain sacred. You are allowed to return slowly. He is the moon god, the gentle light of night, the one who loved imperfectly, suffered diminution, and became a cosmic symbol of renewal. And maybe that is why Chandra still feels so close, because he does not promise a life without darkness. He promises that darkness does not get the final shape of you. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments which part touched you most deeply. And especially, leave a comment sharing which god you want me to make a video about next. Your choice might become the next story on this channel. If this video gave you a little peace, a little warmth, or a little hope today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you won't miss the next emotional mythology story. And if someone came to your mind while listening to Chandra's story, send this video to them too.